Have you ever wondered how most good ball strikers are able to hit the ball really flat with a really penetrating ball flight? Well, take a look at the impact positions here of myself on the left and Tiger on the right, and notice how delofted the club face looks in both cases. Now, what is causing this, and what does this do in your golf swing, and how, more importantly, how do you do it? There's only two simple keys, and that's what I'm going to show and share with you in this video. So as you can see, the club face angle of Tiger's club here looks like it's there. Mine looks like it's almost leaning forward. So they're heavily delofted. But what do they look like at address? If you take a look, Tiger is actually hitting a wedge here. Oh, there we go. Tiger's hitting a wedge, like a sand wedge. You can see he's got a lot of loft on the club face. And in my case, I am hitting, I believe, an 8-iron here. So a lot of loft on both club faces. But when you look at them both at impact, you can see that we have taken a significant amount of loft off, at least after the strike. But what is it that allowed us to do this, and why do you want this? Well, the first key is, why do you want this? You want to be able to maintain stress on the shaft through the strike. And the reason for that is it's delofting the club face. Now, there's a couple things that go into this, but at the end of the day, what you're really looking for is, how do you get that ball to fly hard and flat through the wind? Because at the end of the day, unless you live in La La Land in some magic utopia, you're going to have to play in wind. And if you hit the ball really high, that's great when there's no wind, but you need to be able to flatten out that ball flight. And what Tiger and I are both doing here is we've both hit the ball in a certain part of the face that helps create this, and we've also both moved centers of mass, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing is, we're going to talk about the strike on the club face, because this is the number one thing that's going to change how your ball flies through the air, is where you hit it on that club face. And what I mean by that is, as you can see my club working through the grass here, of course we don't have the exact frame at impact, but you can see that the club is still hovering just above the ground, just maybe 4 inches before the strike. And then after the strike, you can see it looks considerably delofted. Now, obviously, I've struck the ground too at this point, so that's helping maintain stress on the shaft, which we're going to talk about how to do that with the body in a sec. But you can see even through this frame, the club face is still very, very delofted. That's going to keep a lot of loft off the face to get a really solid strike on the ball, and also to keep the ball, keep the club face from adding loft, and to keep the ball to fly really flat. Now, the trick to this is hitting the ball below the center of gravity on the club face. Now, a lot of times in most amateur golfers, I see the club face strike is always high on the club face. If I was to back the club up, and we're just to look at the, I'll zoom in here real quick so we can zoom in on this face to get a good idea of what I'm talking about here. The ideal place to strike an iron on the club face is about right there, give or take a little bit. Most amateurs hit it about there. And when you do that, you're hitting the ball above the CG, above the center of gravity. And that's great if you're hitting a driver. But with an iron, you want to actually hit it a little bit below. And that's where you'll see really, really good ball strikers, like the best of the best. They'll have a wear spot right there. It'll be really low on the face. In fact, for most golfers, it'll probably seem like it's a groove low, maybe even 2 grooves low. But that's actually where the ideal spot is, because what's going to happen is that as that club face, I'll advance it a little bit here so we can draw on it a little. As the club face strikes the ball below the center of gravity, or very close to the center of gravity, definitely not above it with an iron, the club face, and you can see it actually happening here. You can see that the moment I strike the ball, I've not hit the ground hard enough to deloft the club face like this. It's really actually the strike on the ball that's causing this club face to deloft. So if we look at it again, you can see from 8-iron loft to 1-iron loft is happening during that strike. That's because as I strike it below the center of gravity, the club face rolls this way. It has to. Just like if you see somebody hit a driver off the toe, the club face opens wide open. If they hit off the heel, the club face closes. That's what's happening in the strike. So if you hit it right in the center, the club face isn't going to twist at all. Theoretically, it's going to stay really flat. But for iron play, to really flatten out the ball flight and see those kind of penetrating missiles that you see so many great ball strikers have, you want to hit the ball below the CG. So now, the other key to this is getting your center of mass forward. And this is the moneymaker. If you don't do this, you're going to really struggle to play really good golf. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go back to address. I'm going to put a line on my hip here, roughly on the outside of my left leg. And then we're going to take Tiger's and we're going to do the same thing roughly on the outside of his leg. And then we're going to advance us both to impact. And you're going to see that we have moved our bodies forward. Tiger even more so than me, and he's hitting a wedge here. Moved where our left leg was at address is now well outside that line. And this is key to getting your center of mass forward so that you maintain leverage on that golf club. And what I mean by leverage, there's so much leverage in the golf swing. There's so many different ways to create leverage. One way that I've created leverage by shifting my hips forward is my spine is tilted back. This is giving my spine and my body more leverage against my arms, which gives me more leverage against the shaft. So that's one simple way to understand that if you just move your center of mass forward while your upper body tilts back, you can see the exact same thing in Tiger. Obviously, he's tilted back even more because he's moved laterally more so than I have. And as you tilt back, this gives you leverage against your arms with your body to be able to control that shaft and keep driving the hands forward. And that's the key. That's where most every amateur on the planet struggles, is that they flip the club and they don't get that forward shaft lean that you need at address to be able to deloft the face and then keep that drive sustained as the club is moving through the strike, to keep that loft off the club for the longest time possible without trying to do something funky with your hands. You can see my hands aren't really doing anything here. They're just kind of being driven through. Obviously, I'm posting up, I'm rotating a little bit more, but my hands aren't doing anything to try and deloft that face. This is all done by just shifting my pressure forward and hitting the ball below the center of gravity with a shallow angle of attack. Now, part of the key to this is just understanding how to shift your pressure. So I have a video called The 4 Pressure Shifts of the Modern Player that will help you understand how to shift your weight, how to get that center of mass moving forward dynamically and quickly, the way that it happens in the golf swing. And there's actually 4 pressure shifts that allow this to happen. So if you want to start getting flat penetrating iron shots, watch this video. I'll put the link down in the description and it'll help you understand how to hit those missiles that rip through the wind.